Hello and welcome to What's Your Story. Thank you for joining us today. I have another very interesting author for you to meet. Her name is Sarah Tasz, and her pen name is S.G. Tasz. And Sarah, we're so glad to have you here today. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Sarah is a fantasy novelist, and your book, Death by Misadventure.
Yep.
Death by Misadventure. Tell us about that book.
So Death by Misadventure is an urban fantasy book, which means it's set in real-world city, actually set here in Las Vegas, with some magic. And so the main character is a young woman who can essentially turn herself into a ghost, and she uses that ability to become assassin for hire, and kind of metes out justice for the people that she gets hired by different people, and will mete out justice that way. And in the first book, she's accused of a murder that she didn't commit. So she has to clear her name while being magically tied to a very snobby and austere British investigator. So there's a little bit of romance in there, too.
So there's actually 2 books.
There's actually 4 books.
Oh, there's 4.
Yep, the 4th book just came out in August, and that is, at least for the moment, the end of the series, so it is complete. Yeah.
Oh, so that's going to give us quite an adventure. We can go with her through all 4 adventures.
For sure, yeah. The first 2 are here in Vegas and Vegas area, and then the 3rd one is in London, actually. It's Whitechapel. She goes to kind of investigate a Jack the Ripper type of scene, so... Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so tell us about where this idea came from. Is this from adventures or misadventures in your life?
Well, everything I write, I guess, is kind of from a misadventure in my life. So the idea for this really started probably about 14 years ago, sort of the seed of it, when I was in school for video production, actually back in Wisconsin. I got this idea for how cool would it be to be able to be a ghost in Las Vegas, kind of being able to walk into those places that people don't see, and getting to see all of that hidden stuff. And at the time, that story was about 2 girls who were actual ghosts, and they were trying to solve their own murders, which was a very cool idea, but I had conceptualized it as a screenplay. And for various reasons, I kind of exited out of the video production industry and moved back into fiction writing, and did a different series for a while just to kind of get my feet wet and figure out like what independent publishing really looked like, because this is all I do all of my stuff independently. Mm-hmm. And then this series was my second venture, and I was sort of toying with different ideas about what I wanted to do for my second series, and I came back to that idea of ghosts in Las Vegas and how cool that would be. But I wanted to do something with a little bit more magic and like a magical kind of secret world. And that idea didn't give me a whole lot in that respect. And then one day the phrase death by misadventure just popped into my head, or I saw it on a true crime show or something. And because of how my brain works, I was like, oh, what if that was spelled M-I-S-S, adventure? And the 2 ideas kind of went together, and it just sort of went from there.
That's awesome. It really is awesome. I can't wait. I haven't read your books yet, and
They're pretty fun, yeah.
Yeah, I like to read books before I have the author on, because then I know more about them and about their book. But in this case, it'll be fun because now you've told me, and I'm curious.
Yes.
It'll be really great. Now, you've also appeared in some anthologies, I understand. You've written for some of those?
Yep, I appeared... I can't remember what year, maybe 2017, 2018, maybe 2019, in the writer's block through the Henderson Writers Group. And then last year, I was fortunate enough to appear in the Nevada Humanities anthology, Desert Superbloom.
Interesting.
Yeah. And those were both urban fantasy type short stories.
You're very involved in the writing world here in Nevada.
Very much, yeah.
Because don't you run... some practice situation what is it, critiques. You run critique groups, don't you? For,
Yes,
Sun City Writers.
Sin City Writers Group. Yeah. Last year, I ended up kind of stepping into the role of I don't like president, but kind of like the head of the steering committee, let's say, when we lost our founder to cancer, unfortunately, Tony. So yeah, that's what I do right now. Is I'm very, very strongly active in that group. I do all of the, we have, I think, 10 chair people that run 2 meetings every week on Tuesdays and Saturdays. And we have 6 readers every meeting. We've had full lists for the entire year, which is, just is a testament to like the strength of the writing community in this city, which I don't think a lot of people know about.
I don't think people do know about the fact that we have so many good writers here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, it's the whole reason I moved here, frankly. My history with Vegas goes my entire life. My extended family, I had an aunt and an uncle that lived here. My aunt was an ER nurse back in the 80s when I was born, and my uncle, brother and sister, my dad's brother and sister, he was a dealer at what is now the Horseshoe. And my parents like to joke, being born in Minnesota and being an only child and with not a lot of family around, they would joke that they had to come to Vegas to get a babysitter. So they would come here, once or twice a year. This was back when flights were very, very cheap. And I would stay with my aunt, and it was, very formative for me growing up. I always looked at this city as a second home, but didn't really think about ever moving here until about 2016. I was living in Minneapolis area, and I was trying to make inroads with the community, the writing community there, which is very vibrant and super strong and storied and all of that. But for me, it just wasn't fitting. I wanted something that was going to really embrace me and something that I could fully commit myself to and make a difference in. And I don't remember how I started looking at Vegas specifically, but that's when I found the Las Vegas Writers Conference put on by the Henderson Writers Group. And I went and I met Tony, who founded Sin City. I met Jenny Bailiff, who's no longer here. I met Terry Maui, who I know has been on this show pretty recently.
Yes.
And just the feeling I got from that group I was like, I need to be here. And I went home and I started making plans to move here pretty much immediately. It took a few years, but I was like, I know where I'm going to go.
Yes. And that Henderson Writers Group is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Absolutely.
I was sharing with you earlier that's where I got the contract with the first publisher of my first book. And that was pretty exciting. I'll just never forget going in my car on the way home and screaming at the top of my lungs all the way home.
I can imagine.
Yes. It was so exciting.
Yeah.
And that book did very, very well. It was well promoted by Stevens Press, which was a publisher here in Vegas. And it was so funny because when we first start writing, sometimes I think we're not real sure how to do any of it. We just kind of want to write a story and we hope it'll get into a book, and then we hope it'll get published. And I remember walking into Stevens Press and saying to Carolyn, the lady that was the publisher there, she said, well, here's what we're going to do, and we're going to do the book, and we're going to put your picture on the cover. And I said, oh, no, you can't put my picture on the cover because only celebrities are on the cover.
Aww.
And she looked at me and said, when we get through with you, honey, you'll be a celebrity. And I was like, oh,
yeah, that's the kind of partner you want, right?
Yeah.
When you're publishing your book.
Yeah, and
sure.
it felt so good, to walk in. And we sold 40,000 copies of that book. So,
that is extremely impressive.
So it did very, very well,
Very awesome,
And it's still selling, believe it or not. It's still on Amazon. It still sells regularly. And it's a self-help book, I never thought I had the talent that people like you have to write novels, to write fantasy, to write, that where do you get this imagination and
I mean,
how do you think up these stories and these characters?
That's a pretty that's a common question. I think that fiction authors get. And I never have a good answer for it, because it's just always sort of been something that I do. I think like anything when it comes to writing, in terms of like wordsmithing and spelling and all of this stuff, it's just a skill. And I think the skill there is just learning to really listen to the voices in your head when they're talking to you and when they say something.
When you were a child, were you a storyteller? Did you make up stories? Did you have invisible like imaginary friends?
Yeah, I actually, fittingly enough, I had a friend who was a ghost.
Oh,
so, it
that
all
makes sense.
just it follows through, yeah. But yeah, I wrote my first stories in first grade. Pretty much as soon as I could read and write, I was writing stories. I remember in the first grade, they gave us this little, like, half page, half legal size book with like 30 pages in it, just blank. And for whatever reason, I took that as a challenge, and I said, I'm going to fill this book with stories. And they're all bad. Like, they're all, 5 sentences long. It's like, once there was a girl, and something happened to the girl, and then it stopped happening, and the end. And, they're all very basic stories. But yeah, that's where I started.
But that's great practice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think sometimes when children do things like that, people need to encourage them more.
Yeah, and I was very lucky that I had my mother, who really nurtured that in me, and teachers who were my third grade teacher in particular, Mrs. Pung, Janine Pung. I started writing like longer stories at that point, and she found them, to her credit, very impressive for a third grader, and encouraged me to keep working on them. So that was huge.
So why did you choose urban fantasy?
I think it's just, I like the idea of there being magic in the world we're in, I like the idea of that, around any corner there could be something wild happening, especially now where, things can get really heavy and really, they can really take a toll on you.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to be able to escape into a little bit of magic. Also, I like writing fantasy, but I'm lazy and I don't want to create a whole world. So this one's already here for me. And also, I will say this, like, writing stories set in Vegas is almost not real world. It's kind of halfway, because Vegas is kind of a fantasy place too.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was growing up, I came here when I was 18, and so I always thought Vegas was the real world. It was everything to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would meet people who would be like, say, from North Carolina or somewhere, and I'd say, oh, they probably don't know what it's like to live in the real world. And then I found out one day they did live in the real world,
Yeah.
and it was me who lived in
Bummer.
this kind of fantasy city.
Yeah,
But-
it's interesting going back home, back to the Midwest to visit, because, I lived there until I was, in my 30s, so not quite the same experience, but there is definitely Vegas being a very different place from...
Oh, it is.
And then in other senses, like, it's exactly the same, too, because you get groceries, you have to deal with broken faucets and stuff,
Yes.
so it's an interesting mashup.
And two, I think a lot of people don't realize that there are people who live here who
Oh, for sure,
probably
yeah.
have never been on the Strip,
Mhm.
and that they just live in the regular neighborhood with regular everyday lives and have never ever involved in... I met a girl the other day, she's been here 35 years, she's never been to a show.
Wow.
I was like, what?
See, that makes me kind of sad, though.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I want to say, come on, I'm going to take you and show you, because, some people are just not exposed, and maybe they're just not interested. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I like the glamour of it.
I do too. I also like, and this was true when I was a kid, I also like being able to kind of be on the edge of the glamour as well, and kind of watch it from a distance too.
Yeah, yeah, I like both of it. So, let me ask you, what is your favorite part about writing a series?
I always start with the characters. They always come to me first, it seems. Even in the case of this story, where it was almost, the title came to me more than anything
love
else.
the title.
Thank you very much. when I look back in 2011, when I had those two ghost girls, a lot of they informed a lot of what the main character, Adina Venture, A.D. Venture, is in the book. So what I love most about the series is getting to spend time not just with the main characters. Of course, I love Adina and I love the male lead, Levi, but all of the characters. She's got a sister, she's got a best friend who she's never met, who's a late night radio DJ. She's got her mom, who's sort of a very young 50s woman, who in her 50s, who's a big Golden Knights fan, who is just extremely fun to write and very gregarious. And I just like being able to spend time with those characters and really get to know them throughout the series, especially.
Well, probably because you're a Golden Knights fan too. It makes you have a good relationship
yeah.
there. And Green Bay Packers.
I am, yes, go Pack.
And that as well. So what's next for you?
Right now, I'm taking a break from writing for a little bit, although I'm starting to get itchy, so it probably won't last much longer. It's also necessary because I have a number of events coming up. This is my busy season. So I'll be at the Las Vegas Book Festival in October, and a couple of other things. And after that, I'm planning on launching into a trilogy that is also going to be urban fantasy about a modern age Medusa and the Minotaur. So we're going Greek mythology this time.
So what is your writing process when you're writing? Do you write every morning? Do you write in the late night? Do you have a specific time, or do you have a muse?
I don't have a muse so much. It is more like, well, maybe I have a muse actually, because it does feel almost like there are periods and like ebbs and flows in the creativity. Like right now, probably because I'm just done with this series, it's a very like sort of low time. But when I get into the creative process and things are ramping up, there's definitely like a flow state that I get into, and that usually happens like right away in the morning, where I just kind of go write for as long as I can, and then sort of deplete, and I'll then recharge and get back to it the next day. Sometimes when I'm running into because even in those flow states I can run into speed bumps and stuff. I use the Pomodoro technique.
I don't know that.
Okay, so what that is basically you set a timer and you're like, I'm going to write for 10 minutes. And technically with that technique, you're supposed to stop and do something else for 10 minutes and then come back for 10 minutes and kind of do that. I sort of do an improvised version where I'll write for 10 minutes, and if it's not happening, I'll go do something else and maybe come back later. If it is happening, and it usually is, I'll just keep going. So it's sort of like a little trick where it's like you only have to do it for 10 minutes, and then my brain will get over that and be like, oh, this is fine. I can keep doing this.
It's usually easier to keep going than it is to get started.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The getting started part is the hard part.
Yeah.
It's your mind kind of takes you on all the other things you've got to do and you need to do and you should be doing. And
Yep. And all of those things are, generally speaking, easier than writing a book. So you're going to be more likely to go do those things instead.
Yeah, now I found that writing the book for me was the easy part. The marketing was the hard part.
Yeah,
Did
marketing
you find that?
is a beast for sure.
Yeah.
I think a couple of things there is another reason why I like writing series is one, you only have to get started once, and then you can keep writing books, and you're not really getting started again.
Yeah. You tell yourself that.
It is easier if you're writing like the fourth book with the same characters. You know them a lot better, and you can access their voices easier. And with marketing, it's similar. If the series is going well, it's easier to promote a book for. If you've got a lot of people already reading book one, like your books are always your strongest marketing tool, and the closer they are related to each other, the easier in theory it should be to sell. But I will say getting book one really up and running was just a lot. It was a lot of experimenting. Some of which did not work. Like, I learned things that, I won't do again. I learned things that were, essential now to my plan. And I was able, I think the strongest thing was to establish a team of ARC readers and early reviewers. Because not only does that kind of help you, it helps you in a number of ways, if you don't mind me going into like a little mini marketing seminar.
No, you go right ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so getting those, it gives you those early reviews, which are great for the Amazon algorithm or any algorithm. The higher you can get that number faster, the better they're going to like that. It helps you with social media in that you can pull nice quotes from it, and you can run ads with it if you want to. And that's true on Amazon too, I think. And then from just like a psychological standpoint, seeing those early reviews, especially on a book one,
Yes.
that are nice and like, I loved this book, or like, this is so interesting, or this is so unique, or like, I love the ones about the characters, obviously. Like, I loved these characters and I was rooting for them the whole time because I'm rooting for them the whole time. Those just kind of keep you going if things get sticky or you start feeling like down. Because there's always a down period after you publish a book, even if you're going to go right into the second book or the third book. There's always this little like, oh, that one's over. So that really helps to have those early reviews. So like number one thing I learned was like, find your early readers however you can, because they're going to help you so much. And now I have them for my next series too.
Yes.
So that's work I don't have to do again necessarily.
That's wonderful, isn't it? That's absolutely wonderful. Okay, well, you know what? We're just about out of time. I would like very much for you to give our audience a way that they could contact you or to know where they can purchase your book. So if you could look into that camera over there and tell them, I appreciate that.
Sure. So you can find me at my website, WWDBTV.com. That's where you can find links to all of my books, the entire Misadventure series, and any other books that I write. I'm on Facebook and Instagram mostly, and a little bit on YouTube. I'm actually starting to get that going as another marketing and outreach platform. So that's where you can find me.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you for being here. This has been great. I've
Yeah.
enjoyed it. And I've learned a lot. I better get more ARC readers.
It's fun though, because they're actual people and not, dealing with a platform.
Exactly. Thank you. And thank you for being here with us today. I've had a wonderful time with our guest, Sarah Tasz, and I hope you'll pick up her book, Death by Misadventure. It's on Amazon, and you can get it there.